Hi, in this video I'm going to do a new CSS drawing. I'm going to do something different. I'm going to describe everything I do as I go. So for example, one of the things I like to do at the beginning is setting a canvas. So it's not the HTML canvas tag, it's just, like a canvas, like a real painting is in a canvas. So I like to set up the stage for what I'm going to do. And what I do is that I create an element, HTML element, that is going to serve as the root of the drawing. And I normally make it square. Let me make it square by using this width, 80 vmin, and aspect ratio 1. And let me put a background of semi-transparent red so we can see it there. So the aspect ratio of 1 is what it's making it square, because it's saying it has to have the same width as height. So it's 1. This is the equivalent of doing 1/1, the same width for the same height. We can reduce it to just 1. And then I use 80 vmin. I use the vmin unit, that is a viewport relative unit, that is the minimum of the height or the width. So for example, 100% vmin right now is going to be the width of the viewport. But if I make the viewport larger, now the height is less than the width. So the vmin, 100 vmin, is going to be the height of the window, or the viewport, sorry. So I use 80 and I use vmin because that way I know that it is always going to be within the screen. Because, for example, imagine that I use vmax, that is the maximum of the height or the width. If I do that and I have a really big screen, you see I'm cutting the bottom of the drawing. You can see the scroll bar there. But if I use vmin, I know that it's always going to be within the viewport. So the drawing is always going to be visible. Another thing that I like doing is creating a grid. So I use a repeating linear gradient that has a grayish thin with a small percentage, 0.9, then transparent until it's 75%, and then the same gray from there to 10%. And if you see, now we have repeating linear gradient that is every 10%. So that's what I wanted. And what I'm going to do is that I'm going to apply the same linear gradient, but I'm going to say 90 degrees. So it's going to be vertical lines instead of horizontal. Why do I do that? I do it because now imagine that I want to place an item, and I will need to place an item in the drawing, and I want to place it here. So for me, it will be really easy to say, oh, from the left is going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 70% left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 from the top. So 60 top. So this position is 70% left, 60% top. What I do is that I count the number of squares and I multiply by 10. It makes it really simple. And now another thing that we're going to do, and normally I leave a note about accessibility at the end. I'm going to put it at the beginning this time. CSS drawings are not too accessible by default. So one thing that we can do to make them slightly more accessible is specify a role of image. So when a screen reader reaches the article, in this case, it will announce it as an image. It will say image. Another thing that I do is area label, and I add a description of what the drawing is going to be. In this case, I don't have a drawing yet. I'm just going to be cartoon of ... and I will fill that in. And I say cartoon of ... because I honestly don't know what I'm going to draw. And I'm going to show what I mean. I I'm here on this page, wordcounter.net, that has a tool that is a random word generator. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to click this button, and you see it generates different words. They can be verbs, nouns, adjectives. I'm going to click the button several times, and I'm going to try to draw whatever comes up. Let's see what it is. There it is. So we have a lame, turkey, march, mask, vivacious. I hope I pronounced that correctly. So that's those are the words. And what we can do now is find a drawing of a turkey. I guess do a drawing of a turkey, maybe. How can I do a turkey? A turkey, the country or the animal? Probably the animal. And how do I make it lame? I don't know that either. I remember doing a turkey in the past. Maybe I can do something similar. And a mask, maybe I can do a mask on the face, and like it's, you know, COVID and everybody's wearing a mask, or not anymore, but it was something that we have lived with for the past 2 years. So let's start with that, and let's start with let's see, how can we do the turkey? So let's say the turkey is going to have a body. So let's put a body first. And let's see how we do it. But before we do anything, we're going to say everything inside the article, everything inside the canvas is going to have a position absolute. And it's going to have a box sizing of, oh goodness. The box sizing is going to be the border box. Sorry, I forgot completely what I wanted to say. Also, to position absolute the elements within the canvas needs to have also a position. So we're going to put absolute here, and then I'm going to say top 50%, left 50%, and then I translate minus 50%, minus 50%. And with these 4 things, what we're doing is that we're placing the canvas in the center of the screen. You see, we can make it larger, smaller. It's always going to be in the center, like the real center. That's because we're placing it at 50%, 50%, and then we're translating it half its size. This percentage is relative to this size. It's not relative to the screen, and that's important. So let's continue with that. So let's start with the turkey. So let's start with the body. I think I did in the past I did another turkey, so it's unfortunate because probably I'm going to do something really similar. So let's say the body, and for the body we're going to just do a circle. So let's say width maybe like 40%. I don't know if that's too much, maybe 30%, let's see, and an aspect ratio of 1. And then we put a border radius of 50%, and because it's square, it's going to be a circle. And now it's when the fun part begins. Also, we want to add a background so we can see it, obviously. And we want to make it brown, so let's say 931. That can do. Maybe we can do it a little bit 963. Too bright, I think. 631. Now it's going to be too dark. Yeah, I don't like it. 853. That's gonna do it. So that's going to be the body of our turkey. The next thing that we're going to do is we're going to place it kind of in the middle. So let's say top 50%, left 50%. and then we want to translate it into the middle. So let's say transform translate x minus 50%. So there we have it. Now what we can do is get ready for the legs. So for the legs, what we can do is, let's start doing one thing. This is going to be our main brown, is going to be 853 bar brown. Okay, so we're going to use a custom property, a CSS variable, to have the colors. So this is going to be the brown, and what we're going to do is that it's going to have a box shadow, and let's say 0, 10 vmin, 0 minus 5 vmin. That may be too much, too little actually. 10. Now I need to bring it down. That may be too much. Now it's too much. 9. Okay, that's perfect. So minus 2 vmin. That's minus 5. That looks a little bit better. 12. A little bit higher. 11. So this is a little bit of trial and error, which is a little bit boring when you're watching the video, I'm guessing. So we're going to say bar brown. So we have, this is going to be leg 1, and now at least the beginning of leg 1, and then we're going to be leg 2. So it's going to be kind of symmetrical. Another thing that is going to be symmetrical is going to be the wings. We want to have wings here and here, so let's add them. We're going to add them in a different way. Instead of having 2 elements, we're going to have a single element, and then we're going to use a radial gradient to make it. But before that, let's make the head. So the head, let's add it here, is going to include the head in itself and the neck. So let's do that. The head is going to be kind of like this. So I'm going to copy paste this. Instead of 30%, let's make it 20. That may be too large. Let's see how that goes though. Top 30. That may be still too big. So let's make 18 the head. Let's put a little bit higher, 26. That looks a little bit better. And now it's going to have a head before. This is going to be the neck. So the neck first, because it's a pseudo element, we need to add that content so it's visible. We didn't specify here that the pseudo elements were going to have the same thing, so let's do it now. So now we're saying that it's going to have position absolute, box sizing, blah blah blah. The background, we could say bar brown, but instead of that, in case that we change the background of the skin or whatever, what we're going to say is inherit. So it's going to inherit the one from the head. And let's say width 30%, height 100%. You see it's inheriting the color of the background color of the head, which is interesting. So now we say top 50%, left 50%, transform translate x minus 50%. Boom. So there we have the head and the neck. Because we are applying 50% and then a translation of half the size, if we make it wider, it's still, the neck is going to be still center. So that's a nice trick. Let's put 35. So we have the body, the top part of the legs, the neck, and the head. So the next thing that we're going to do, we said, was the wings. So the wings go on top of the body but below the neck, just in case. So we're going to put them here. Div class wings. And the wings are going to be another brown, shade of brown that is going to be slightly darker. So let's say 631. We were seeing that one earlier. So let's say brown 2. So let's say the wings, we want to make them close to how this is. So let's kind of make it just copy paste from here. But instead of that, we're going to make the background is going to be semi-transparent red again. And what we're going to do is we're going to 0.8. So yes, we're going to make it a little bit wider. A little bit more wider. Let's see how that works. Yes, okay, I think that could do it. That could do it. Maybe let's put it top 49. No, let's do it top 50. Yeah, something like that. And now what we're going to do is we're going to use a radial gradient from 0, 0. That means from this corner here, remember that it's going to be bar brown 2, 20% for now. We're going to play with the values in a second, and we will see. I'm doing something wrong because, sorry, it's at, not from. From is a different thing. So we kind of have it, but this wing is too small. We want to make it so it hits here. So let's start adding 30. That's too much. 29. That looks a little bit better. It's a little bit small. So let's do one thing. We're going to say 50-50. Sorry, 100. 100. Okay, 40. That may do. Let's make it a little bit longer than that. That's one wing. Let's see what happens if we do 41. Perfect. And the only thing that we want to do also is that I don't know if you see, but right now the edge is a little bit sharp. So what we can do is, instead of stopping at 0, that will make it a sharp edge, we can stop at 41.5%. That is a little bit, so the edge, I don't know if you can see it, but right now it's kind of blurry. So we may want to make it a little bit smaller than that. 25. Okay, so we have one wing there, and what we're going to do is that we're going to copy this thing here, but instead of from 0, 0, we're going to do it from 100, 0. Boom, now we have 2 wings. Our turkey is coming up nicely. The next thing that we can do is the legs. So let's see, for the legs, what we're going to do is we're going to add 2 legs. Leg 1 and leg 2. And they're going to be behind the body because they're going to come here and here. So let's put them behind the body, on top of the body. And now let's do one leg only, and we're going to move it to the other one. So the leg is going to have a width of around 5%, probably. Width of 5%, because it's here. It's probably going to be a 4, but anyway. And then it's going to have a height of, I would say, 10-15%. And now the color of the leg is going to be orange. So let's say background bar leg, and there it is. As I said, this is too much. It's going to need to be a 3 or a 4. 3 sounds good. Let's add a border radius of 5 min. It can be any absolute value, so it's just rounded. And we want to put it in top 80%, left, let's say 50%, and then we're going to transform, translate x minus 50%. We want to do that for sure, so it's in the middle, and then instead of being left 50, it's around left 45. There it is. Maybe we want to make it a little bit longer, 20, so it gets to the end. That may be too much, and that may be too much also. So let's make it 17. Okay. And now what we're going to do is we're going to say leg before and leg after are going to be the same. They're going to have a content of empty, so they are visible. Then they're going to have a width of 100%, a height of only 20% of the leg. The position is absolute because we set it up, and they're going to be at the bottom and there. And you say, oh, if we add a background of red, they're going to be visible here at the bottom. So that may be too little, so let's make it 30. 40, that's a lot of height. That's fine. We're going to do the same thing as with the other one, border radius of 5 min, because it has a width of 2%, that is a 2% is 4 min. As long as I have more than 2, it's okay, I think. So now it's where the tricky part begins. We're going to say a transform origin. So we want it to look like a triangle, right? We want to have the foot of the turkey is going to have the main one, and then left and right. And what we're going to do is that we're going to say from this point here, that is around 50% 0, 50% horizontally, 0 vertically. We want to do a transform of clockwise 30 degrees. Rotate 30 degrees. Let's see how it looks. Maybe 40 to make it a little bit more. Okay. And now that we have that one, for the after, we're going to apply, instead of 40, we're going to apply minus 40, so it goes on the other side. Boom. And now instead of being the background red, we're going to say the background is the color of the leg. So there it is. And what we're going to do now is we're going to say the second leg. If the first leg is 45, the second leg is going to be left 55%. And there we have our second left leg. To improve it a little, something that we may want to do is, for example, we can say the background is going to be like that, but for example, we're going to add a radial gradient of at 50% 0, black 30%, transparent. Let's see how that looks. Sorry, 100. I said it wrong. And then we don't want it to repeat. And we want it to be a circle. That's way too much, 10%. That's a little bit better. And we're going to apply the same thing to the before and after here. Let's see how it looks. Maybe we need to do it. Actually, I like how it looks a little bit smaller, So maybe I'm going to make this one a little bit smaller too. Yes. Also, I don't know if I want to separate the legs a little. Well, let's leave it for now. We'll see. Another thing that we can do is repeating linear gradient, something similar to what we've done before, 0.9%, and then for the grid, what we've done before for the grid, sorry. So when we do that, now it has lines, which is cool. And we're going to apply the same to the before and after. But the before and after, you see it's a little bit smaller. So what we can do is for the before and after, we can say 19 to 20. Okay, and maybe 18 actually. So the width is more or less the same. So there we have the legs, the turkey legs and the turkey wings. So we can focus maybe a little bit now on the head. So let's go to the head, and the head is going to have two eyes. So one eye here, another eye here, and then it's going to have the beak. So div class beak. Let's start with that for now. So what we're going to do is for the eyes, we're going to make them, well, let's start with the beak actually. The beak is going to be faster. The beak is going to have the same colors as the legs, that orange. So let's say width is going to be, I'm going to see 33%, and we want it to be aspect ratio of 1, so it's a square, background bar, and actually going to define its own color. Just in case we want to have different legs and beak color, I'm going to separate it. Okay, cool. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it like a drop. To do that, I'm going to use border radius, and I'm going to say I want this one to be rounded, this one to be rounded, this not, and this one. So 50, 50, 0, 50. And there we have. The only thing that we need to do is transform, rotate 45 degrees clockwise. Boom. And now that we have done, let's add a small thing there so it's not like too spiky. And we're going to say top, I would say maybe 50%, and left 50%. So we need to translate first and then the rotation. So that could be, maybe we can put it a little bit higher, just a little bit, sorry, lower. So that would be the beak. And what we can do now is the eyes. The eyes are going to be simple. We can try to make them like big eyes, or we can make them, I don't think this calls for a kawaii type of eye, that is like a big black eye with shade, circular black eye. So let's do just a classic one with the white and then the pupil, or the, you know, everything there. So let's see. So let's say width, maybe 25%, height 30%. Let's make it a little bit oval. Background white. Border radius. Should we make them a little bit eggy? Let's see, 50%. So that would be no egg. It would be just top 30%, left 20%. Let's put it 25, like that. Then what we can do is the second eye. The left is going to be auto, and the right is going to be 20%, like that. And I said about making it like, well, let's do another thing. Instead of using this, we're going to use a variable. And I'm going to use the variable because I want to use it both for both at the same time, and I don't want to be changing I and I plus I all the time. So now I just can change it in one place and both eyes update automatically, which is cool. So we have the eyes there, and what we're going to do now is add the pupil. As I said, that's going to be a radial gradient. It's going to be black, 0, 0, 0, let's say 20%, and then transparent. That looks like a scared turkey. So let's make it let's make it 50%, 60%. No, that didn't help. 70. A little bit better. It almost looked like a circle. I'm not a big fan of that. Let's see, 30. Okay, and here I'm going to say 31%. Let's see. Yeah, so it's not so sharp. What I'm going to do now is that I'm going to come here, and you're going to say, you're copying it the same and just turning it white. Yes, I am. But now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to make this smaller. And after I make it smaller, I'm going to move it at 2020. That was not a good idea. 40, 40. There it is. Those are my eyes, or the eyes of the turkey in particular. What we can do also, the beak looks too big now, so let's make it a little bit smaller. That's good. And turkeys have that red thing below, or is it below or on top the beak? I think it's both. So what we can do is, how do we do it? That's going to be tricky. We'll see. Well, we don't care about that now. What we're going to care about is the feathers in the back. So we need to make the tail. There is going to be a bunch of feathers, and I remember this making a bunch of things here. So let's go here. Let's go behind the body. We're going to add the tail. It's going to be done by feathers. So let's start by adding a div class feather. And the feather is going to be like a long egg. So it's going to be probably 10 or 15% wide, and it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 55% tall. So let's see. So feather width, let's say 12%, and height 52%. And let's say background red for now. Cool, I think that actually will work. So top 20%, because I want to be here. Left 50%, and then the transform translate minus 50% minus 50%. No, sorry, 0. So we can do just translate X or translate. But before that, let me put here like that. I want to see it, and what I want to do is that I want to make it like a really long egg shape. To that, I'm going to do border radius of 100%, but then I'm going to add a slash. Everything before the slash is the horizontal radius, and after the slash is the vertical one. So the first one is 80, 80, and then let's say 200, 200. Let's see how that looks. That's okay, but I want this rounded, so let's see 100. 100. Yeah, I might have made this too long. 80. 80. Okay, like that is a little bit better. How if I use a whole value? That's a great question. 5 min 5. And this is just me making a test as I do it. Yeah, that maybe not enough. Let's see how that looks. That's not what I want. That's not what I want. So let's put it back as it was. Let's put it back here. What happens if I do percent, 100%, 80, 80? Okay, that could do. So that could do. So what we're going to do now is actually, can I do it a little bit less, 60, 60? I kind of like that better. And then I think I can stand this a little without impacting it too bad. Yeah. What happens if I make this 90? No, 110. That's kind of what I want. Okay, cool. So now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to add radial gradients from the bottom. So I want them to be a really dark brown. So let's make it 3:1. Then a light color, then the regular color, then this color here, I guess. And this is going to be brown 3. My bad. Brown 3. Then light brown. Actually, while we're here, brown 4. I know it's terrible naming. Brown 4 is going to be CA8. Maybe. I don't know. Although I don't know if this is exactly, it's going to be more orangey. If we want it a little bit yellower, maybe DC8. I don't know. We will see how it goes. But we go back to the feather, and we're going to say the background, instead of being red, is going to be a radial gradient of the farthest side at 50%, 100%. And then we're going to use brown 3 for 40%, and then bar brown 4, 45%, and then brown, just regular brown 0, 55%, and we're going to go to the brown 3, 0, 99.9%. Actually, that seems silly, but kind of works, I guess, or maybe not. Well, let's see. So instead of farthest side is not a good idea. 200, 100%. Yeah, that looks a little bit better. 250. That looks even better. I like how this looks. So let's put here 95, and then we're just going to make it black. I don't know if I can see the black at all. Is it visible? No, I cannot see it because it's not visible. That's why. Okay, because I put a 130. That's why. 70. Okay, 74. Okay, so let's make this black. Yeah, it's not really visible, but it's better than nothing. And I think that I'm going to make it just like that. And maybe what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use the brown here again in between. Yeah, something like that. And this is going to be to 60, and the brown 4, let's make it to 50. Yeah. Okay, that looks a little bit weird, but let's put it here, and we can remove that. Okay. Also, that's not a good thing because the neck is not visible. So instead of brown, let's use brown 2 here and here. Okay, so it's more visible. And now what I'm going to do is that I'm going to copy this feather a couple of times, and it's still there. That's good. And what we're going to do is feather nth of type 1. For 1, I don't need to do anything because it's the default one. It's the transform translate. So let's do, for the second, I want to do the transform translate. An important thing that I want to do is a transform origin. I want to be the origin from the bottom. So that would be 50%, 100%. And that is important because now we're going to say rotate, let's say 10 degrees. May not be enough. 20. 23. I don't like, well, let's see how it looks. Let's see how it looks. I don't think I'm doing it correctly, but we'll see. So that's 2. Then the 3 is going to have that in negative. So it's coming on the other side. And then we're going to add a couple more. So we say 4 and 5, and we're going to double this number, 46 and 46, and that may be too much. So you see, now we can see it better. So let's make it 21, 21. And this is 42, 42. That looks a little bit better, I guess. Not that great though. I'm not a big fan of how it looks, but let's add a couple more. And now that we have a couple more, we're going to add a couple more here. 6, 7, 8, and 9. And this is 42, so the next one is 63, and the next one is 84. And that's our turkey. I don't think that we can do, so it's a little bit different, is we can say box shadow. Let's add a box shadow, so it's not exactly there. And it's going to be 0, 0, inset, sorry, 0, 0. That's the X and the Y. Now we want the blurriness, let's say 1 min. And then instead of being black, we're going to make it a shadow, semi-transparent black. So it's there, but it's not fully there. And that's our turkey. That doesn't look, the words that we had were, I mean, it looks kind of lame, I have to say that. It's vivacious, I guess. It doesn't have a mask. Maybe we could add a mask if we wanted to. Let's do it. So let's say the beak. Where's the beak when you need it? It's here. So let's do one thing. So the beak, not back, beak, before. Actually the after. We're going to use the, so the after, we're going to say content, width 150%, height 80%, background, let's put a light blue. Because it's rotated, we need to rotate it back 45 degrees, so transform, rotate minus 45 degrees. And then we say top 50%, left 50%, transform, sorry, translate negative. Cool. So instead of top 50, let's say 70. And 70, remember that is rotated 45 degrees, which is again a little bit messy. So we have there the mask, but it's kind of silly mask right now. So let's make it a little bit better. Let's add some lines. Again, a repeating linear gradient here. It's going to be transparent for 20% and then a little bit dark, 0.20, and this would be 80. Yeah, so it has some lines, and I did it in the after because I wanted to use the before precisely for this. So the before, let's see how it goes. The before, we're going to do this again, but instead of being 150, we're going to make 250. And we're going to add a border of 0.5 means solid white, just to see how it looks like. And let's add this again. And probably I need to add this again. Boom. That looks okay, kind of. Not really. Better than nothing, but not that great. So let's make it 300. Okay, cool. And now that we have it at 300, we're going to make it the borders left is 0 and border right is 0. And let's make the mask threads a little bit smaller. That's too small. 3. And the only problem that we have right now is that it's kind of big for what it is. 320 looks a little bit better. So we're going to use clip path. So we're going to add a clip path of a polygon. Clip path of a polygon. 0, 0, 100%, 0, 100%, 100%, and 0, 100%. That's a square. 0, 0, 100%, 0, 100, 100, 0, 100 is the X and the Y, because this selects, this selects the whole element, then it's going to be visible everything. But now, if instead of saying 100, 100, we say 60, 100, we're drawing a line diagonally. So that was too much. Let's make it 80. Hey, almost there, 83. There it is. And now what we want is to do the same thing here. So if this is 83, we know that this is going to be 17. And that's our turkey with a mask. March. So let's see, what can we do for March? I could add a calendar or something. So what is in March? What happens in March? Is what's the name of it? That would be mixing holidays, but is St. Patrick's Day is in March? I don't know. St. Patrick's Day. Oh, it's in April. I think it's in April. No, it's March 17. I just checked it online. So maybe instead of adding, let's add a hat here on top of the head. So let's say div class hat. So for the hat, we're going to do the hat in 2 parts again. So let's come here and say the hat. It's going to have a width of, I'm going to say 12% and a height of 15%. Background is going to be black, the hat. And then, how do we do this? Instead of doing it black like that, I'm going to do one thing, border radius percent 20%. Let's see how that looks. Okay, now that we have that, actually 20%, 0, 0. Yes, now that we have that, what I'm going to do is that I could clip path it, but I don't want to. So what I'm going to do is that I'm going to use a conic gradient. I'm going to put red instead of black so I can see. And I'm going to say conic gradient. I haven't used it yet. And I'm going to say it's going to start around here. So that's at 50% minus 50%. And then we want it to be from around here. So that's, if it starts here is 0, it would be 90, 80 to 70. So we want it to look like this. So it's going to be 90, something between 90 and 180. So let's say from, wait, is at 50, wait, is it at and from 150 degrees? Hopefully I'm doing it wrong. I'm doing it right, sorry. 20 neck. Let's see if I'm doing it right or not. Kind of. Yes, no, I'm doing it right. So the only thing is that instead of 150 is 170, something more. That may be too much, too little. So first of all, we want to put it higher, and that will do. Actually, that may do the trick. We just remove the red. So you can see sometimes drawing with CSS is a little bit of trial and error, which is a little bit annoying, but that's fine. So the hat is there, then we have the hat before. So the background, and let's add here the hat, the color is going to be black. So we're going to put here bar color of the hat. The background is going to be bar color here too. For the before, what we're going to do again, it's a before or after, a pseudo element. We need to add the content empty. We're going to add a width of 200% and a height of 20%. Position absolute, it has it because we have defined it up there. So we're going to say bottom 0, left 50%, transform, translate, minus 50%, and in this case we're going to 50 because we want it to be like this. And we're going to say border radius 50%. And we're going to make it a little bit taller. Maybe 25, 30. Okay, let's make this the before, that's fine. And now for the after, what we're going to do is, I don't know even which color to do it. Let's say this is going to have a width 100% only. It's going to be at the bottom, left 0, height 10%, and the background is going to be orange. And this, I said, is the after, not the before. So almost, let's make it a lot larger. Let's make it height 25. The width, let's make it a little bit wider, 105. So the left is going to be again 50%, transform, translate, minus 50%, translate X. And I'm missing a semicolon. Ta-da! So we have kind of our hat there. So let's put it in place. It's going to be here. Probably top, wait, sorry, not in the after. I want to do it in the hat directly. Top 10%, left 50%. And I'm going to copy this because I'm getting tired of just writing it all the time. We may want it a little bit lower. 13. There it is. And now to indicate that it's March, instead of making the hat black, we're going to make it green for St. Patrick's Day. There you have it. So the words that we get randomly were lame, turkey, march, mask, and vivacious. I don't know what vivacious mean. I will check it in a second actually before I make a big mistake. So it means lively and animating. So that's great. So we have a lame turkey wearing a mask in April because it's St. Patrick's Day, and obviously he is really happy and active because the tail, or it is very active because the tail is open and the eyes are smiling, I guess. Anyway, so what we need to do now is we clear things a little bit. We can remove the background from the canvas. We don't need it anymore. And what we will do is that in the HTML, we can say cartoon of a turkey wearing a mask, and of a lame turkey wearing a mask and a green St. Patrick's Day hat. And let's say lame and vivacious. So there it is. We use all the words to do a drawing, and this is what we got. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I did.